All right, here's that selection outline that we created in the previous exercise using the color range command. I'm still working inside the lips.jpg image. And in this exercise, we're going to refine the selection using the original selection refinement function inside of Photoshop, which is the quick mask mode. So I'd like to direct your attention to the bottom of the toolbox here. Notice that, in my case at least, both the foreground and background color are set to very similar colors. And yours, if you've been working along with me, will be set to pretty much anything besides black and white at this point. Why this is happening is because every time you click or you shift click with the eyedropper tool when you're working inside the color range dialog box, you change the foreground color. Every time you alt-click on the PC or option-click on the Mac, you're changing the background color. And it appears that I went ahead and shift-clicked and alt-clicked on very similar colors inside this image. So if at any point you want to reset things, you can just press the D key in order to get your default colors. That's not going to change the selection one iota because it's already been defined at this point. Right below the foreground and background colors is this guy, which allows you to enter and exit the quick mask mode. So if you click on it, you're going to convert the selection on the fly into a mask. And then if you click again to exit the quick mask mode, then you'll convert the mask back into a marching ant style selection outline. Now, I have to tell you, there's nothing particularly quick about the quick mask mode, just like the quick selection tool. It's not really quickness that it's offering you. It's automation. It goes ahead and automatically converts the selection outline into a mask, and then you can make modifications to that mask. And then when you exit the quick mask mode, it's automatically converted right back into a selection outline. By the way, you can also enter and exit the quick mask mode from the keyboard by pressing the Q key. So Q takes you in, Q takes you back out. When I go into the quick mask mode, and there's no harm in entering and exiting the quick mask mode as many times as you want. It doesn't hurt the selection outline at all. What we're seeing here is a Rubylith overlay on top of the image. So wherever we're seeing the ruby, that is the sort of pinkness on top of the image, that represents the deselected portion of the image. Wherever we see through to the original lips, then we're seeing the selected portion of the image. And in this case, it doesn't make a lot of sense because we're seeing red on red. So we really can't tell where the image is selected and where it's deselected. I don't actually like working in this typical quick selection mode very often. The advantage is that you can see the mask and the image at the same time, but I find it to be pretty deceiving. Anyway, in order to either change the overlay color so it's not ruby, or to basically get rid of the image and just see the mask, you need to go over here to the Channels panel, and then notice that we have a temporary channel down at the bottom. So we've got a red, green, and blue channels, just as we always do inside of an RGB image. And then we've got this alpha channel. And an alpha channel is a channel that ultimately defines translucency inside of an image. It can also house a mask, so you can save selections to alpha channels. They have no effect on the ultimate color of the image, so they're not like the red, green, and blue channels, or the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black channels, or any of those. They are independent channels that house either selection or translucency information. In our case, we have a temporary channel that's called Quick Mask here. Now, if we want to change the color overlay, you double-click on this thumbnail, brings up the Quick Mask Options dialog box, you click on red. When I'm working with any kind of portrait image or anything that involves warm imagery, then I usually change the hue value to 210. That usually provides a nice contrast, and I leave the saturation and brightness values cranked up to their maximums 100% each. Click OK. And you could raise the opacity value if you want to. Notice one of the downsides of this option is that you can't preview your settings. So you've got to click OK in order to see what kind of change you've made. And now we have essentially a cobalt overlay. So wherever we're seeing blue, the image is deselected. Where we're seeing through to the image where the mask is transparent, then the image is selected. All right, that's still no good. I still can't make out what's going on here. So what I recommend you do is turn off the RGB image. And you can do that by clicking on the eyeball in front of RGB right there, and then you'll just see the standard mask, which is a lot less confusing. Now, I know it takes some getting used to, but as long as you remember, luminance indicates selection. The brighter the pixel is, the more selected it is. The darker it is, the less selected it is. Now, there's also a way to turn on and off the RGB image from the keyboard, and that's to press the tilde key. And if you press the tilde key, then you're going to show the RGB image again at the same time you're looking at the mask. And if you press the tilde key again, you're going to hide the image. So remember that tilde allows you to show and hide that image in case you want to be able to compare what you're doing inside of the quick mask mode to the full color image itself. All right, so that's your introduction to the quick mask mode. In the next exercise, we're going to see how we can refine this selection as a mask.